Just for a second, and the film ends. Hi everybody, I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks Lunchtime streaming show, where we watch old 16mm films, and that was a film from the Mogul Brothers collection, a silent film called How Plants and Animals Cause Disease. And yikes, in the comments, this weekend was rough for a lot of people, so I hope we're all doing okay and we get a chance. Maybe the 16mm onslaught will give you a brief break from what you're going through, the trials and tribulations and the pain. So sorry that all those things happen to all of you folks. It's pretty miserable. But we watch 16mm films here, and we're going to watch Measurement of Electricity. Enjoy.
We use electricity in so many ways that we take the supply for granted. But sometimes we have to measure it, as Don found one evening. He needed better light at his table to work at his hobby of flashlights and electrical cells. But as he went to plug in his work lamp...
Hold on. I'd better not plug in here. It looks as if Mom is getting ready to iron some clothes. And with that heater going to dry the baby's things, why, that's just the way we blew a fuse last week. Don't want to do that again. Have to figure out what we can do before Mom comes to iron. Let's see. This takes 750 watts at 120 volts. And the fuse? Let me see. It's like this one, 15 amperes. I have to figure this out. Wish I knew more about these things. Volts, watts, amperes. What are these things? What is a volt?
I'm Volta. See? Here I am, over here in your book. Alessandro Volta. Perhaps I can help you to think, what is this volt that they call after me?
After you?
Yes. I produced the first source of volts, or voltage, with a copper zinc cell.
Oh, we've made them in school.
Yes, I know. Simply copper and zinc in a solution of water and soda, and you have a cell like the one I made over a century ago. With that, I discovered that electricity flows as the result of electrical pressure, or voltage, as you now call it.
Electrical pressure? I don't quite understand. What do you mean?
Volt is a unit of the force that moves electrons, as you move, say, your lawnmower. You must make the pressure with your hands to make it move. The more push or pressure, the better it goes. Now, in electricity, you use a voltmeter as a pressure gauge to measure the push or pressure of the electrons in volts. Now, your fresh copper zinc cell, how much pressure?
Oh, about 1 volt. You know, I'm catching on. Volts measure electrical pressure. Huh, I'm a poet. Volts measure electrical pressure.
The pressure in volts is one factor that determines how much current goes through a circuit.
What's that again? Current? How do you measure current?
Oh, that is where I come in. I am Ampere. I'm over on the next page. Andre Ampere. I discovered how electrical current flows. So the unit of movement of electricity was named after me.
Okay, so it's named after you. What is an ampere?
Well, ampere, as you call it now, is a measure of current flow. How can I explain? Have you some pennies in your pocket? So, imagine that each penny represents a billion electrons. Now, if you move 6 pennies, or 6 billion electrons past a point each second, you have a current of 1 ampere.
Wow!
Electrons are so tiny that billion electrons per second is not a practical unit of measure. Use ampere as a measure of current flow, just as in a gas pump the flow of gasoline is measured in gallons per minute.
I get it. Amperes measure flow of current. Current that's forced through the circuit by pressure measured in volts.
But depending on resistance, that's where I come in. I'm Ohm, George Ohm. I discovered that various materials have different electrical resistances.
Let's see. Resistance. That's sort of what holds back the lawnmower, isn't it?
Yes, my name, Ohm, is a unit of resistance. How hard it is for the electrons to move.
Could I see how that works with my dry cells here?
Certainly. Take that bulb, the one from the 2-cell flashlight, and wire it to the cell. Now that dry cell can push with a certain pressure.
Yes, 1 1/2 volts.
And when you complete the circuit, the dry cell pushes a certain amount of current through the bulb.
Yes, current. That's measured in amperes. But it's not very bright.
Well, the bulb has a high resistance. Let us try the pressure from 2 batteries. Hook them positive to negative, the way they are in your flashlight. Then the voltages are added. You see, to get past more resistance in the same way requires more pressure.
Let's see. 2 cells of 1 1/2 volts each should add up to 3 volts of pressure. That's what it measures, all right, 3 volts. Now, does that pressure make it brighter? It should push more current through.
The more volts you have, the more amperes you push through. But if there are more ohms of resistance, less amperes get through. My law, Ohm's law, is important to you. The current in amperes is equal to the pressure in volts, divided by the resistance in ohms. Or simply, amperes equals volts over ohms.
That's neat. Now I can figure all sorts of current flows.
So, that flashlight bulb has a resistance of about 6 ohms. With 2 cells just now, how much current flowed through it?
Let's see. The current in amperes. We said 2 cells have 3 volts of pressure. But there's resistance, 6 ohms. Why, the current is 5/10 of an ampere.
You can also figure current where you know only the volts and the watts.
Watts? What is a watt?
Perhaps I can help you, laddie. My name is Watt, James Watt. My steam engines were the source of power for the early electrical generators. The watt was named after me. 'Tis a unit of electrical power.
What? A unit of power?
Aye, 'tis just like horsepower. You've heard of a 4,000 horsepower locomotive. Horsepower, that's a unit of rate of work done. So much work done in so much time. Work per hour, that's horsepower. See, I'm a poet too. But remember the time element. Watts also are a unit of power. Work per hour, like horsepower. Your pennies that represent electrons. Pushing so many electrons per second past a point with so much pressure takes power in watts. So electrical power is the product of multiplying current times the pressure behind it. 1 watt is equal to 1 ampere multiplied by 1 volt.
So this 100-watt bulb under pressure of 120 volts carries a little less than 1 ampere?
That's correct. Now, about your problem. Mother's iron over on the counter has a power of 1,000 watts, has it not? And it is made to operate at 120 volts. So the current is...
Over 8 amperes. I catch on. To find the amperes, divide the watts by the volts. And that heater takes 750 watts. That's more than 6 amperes. Now that, plus over 8 from the iron, makes more than 14. And if I add 1 from this bulb, no wonder the fuse blew. Oh, golly. That must be me sleeping at the table. Oh, those men. Those units of measuring electricity. Volt, ampere, ohm, watt, power. Ohm's law. I must have dreamt it all.
Now Don can figure just how much power can come through that 15 ampere fuse. Can you?
A dream. A wonderful dream. Yeah, those accents, boy. Woo! They were rough. Rough. Let's bounce around a little bit. We've done some cornet. Let's do some Encyclopedia Britannica. Enjoy.
Man's interference with his environment is causing critical changes in our valuable water resources. One major pollution problem is the increasing nutrient content in freshwater lakes. When first formed, lakes are usually nutrient poor or oligotrophic. The water is clear as it contains little suspended material or algae. But as time passes, natural aging occurs and some lakes become nutrient-rich or eutrophic. Lakes become choked with sediment and living and decaying plants. As layers of sediment and dead plants increase in depth, the edge community gradually encroaches out into the shallow water. Over thousands of years, lakes evolve into bogs or marshes, then into meadows and even forests. There are two main causes of lake aging. One is sediment washed into a lake from its tributaries, as well as from the lake's own banks. This erosion and deposit of sediment goes on continuously. Even this clear-looking water is carrying some sediment. The second factor is an increase in dissolved nutrients such as phosphorus, nitrogen, and carbon. These nutrients cannot be seen, but the plant life they nourish can. This increase in the amount of nutrient in a lake is called eutrophication. The green, yellow, or brown tint in water is caused by algal blooms. When these plants die, they contribute to lake aging. Nutrients are continuously recycled so that more plants grow, die, and decompose, using more and more of the oxygen in bottom waters. Consequently, species of fish with higher oxygen requirements are unable to survive. They are replaced by species with lower oxygen requirements. As the amount of dissolved oxygen continues to decrease, carp and other rough fish replace more desirable species. Slow eutrophication can be beneficial in increasing the productivity of a lake. But in many cases, eutrophication is accelerating at an alarming rate. This can be detected by measuring transparency and dissolved oxygen content. As eutrophication progresses, transparency lessens and dissolved oxygen decreases in the bottom waters. Blooms of algae cause taste, odor, water filtration, and other problems. The increased rate of eutrophication seems to be directly related to the growth of man's population around lakes. This graph shows that the population around Lake Michigan has steadily increased since 1840. There has been a corresponding increase in dissolved solids in the lake. A similar correlation exists in the other Great Lakes. The conclusion is obvious. Man substantially contributes to and speeds up the natural aging process. Domestic sewage contributes large amounts of nutrients, such as phosphorus. Detergents have been a major source. Additional phosphates come from farm wastes and fertilizers washed from fields. Eutrophic conditions caused by industrial pollution are being reported worldwide. In large cities where most land has been paved or built on, little rain soaks into the ground. Raindrops pick up dust, soot, pollen, and gases from the atmosphere. Oil, grease, animal wastes, and other debris as well are washed away. In most large cities, the same sewer that carries raw sewage from homes and offices to the sewage treatment plant is also used to carry off stormwater. When heavy rains occur, sewage treatment plants cannot handle the extra load, so raw sewage is diverted to lakes or rivers along with the rainwater. The accelerated input of nutrients speeds up eutrophication and upsets the ecological balance. Algae and other plants grow profusely. Bacteria and chemicals flushed into the water use up dissolved oxygen. Fish and other animal life die. A lake transformed into a smelly, unsanitary mess is often said to be biologically dead. In truth, this water is very much alive biologically. There are astronomical numbers of algae and a wide variety of decomposers. Some fish that can tolerate low oxygen levels still survive. A tragic result of accelerated aging is the loss of one of man's most valuable resources. Many communities and government agencies are turning their efforts to reducing eutrophication to slow down the aging process. Here, a lake is being dredged to remove nutrient-rich sediments which have clogged its use. The sediment and other debris are pumped onto land, where they are used as landfill. Some nutrients can be removed from a lake by cutting and removing the weeds in which they are contained. After harvesting, the weeds might be a future source of fertilizer or cattle food. This lake is being pumped out, and the highly nutritive waters are being spread out on the surrounding land. The lake will refill itself from underground springs, thus getting a fresh start. In another effort, artificial aeration is being tried to increase dissolved oxygen content. Compressors furnish the air, which is piped to several underwater outlets far out in the lake. Turbulence, caused by the escape of air, increases the dissolved oxygen content in the bottom waters. This community's lake is small, but highly prized. Here, people are contributing their time to clean out years of accumulated debris. Later, the lake will be drained so that its bottom can be covered with black plastic sheeting weighted with gravel. This will help keep the nutrients trapped below. All of these efforts should help slow eutrophication, but they are treating its symptoms, not its causes. The only long-range solution is preventing man-made pollutants from entering our lakes. Commonly used secondary treatment of sewage removes only part of the nutrients. Until treatment methods are improved, the best solution would be to divert sewage away from lakes. As early as 1900, to reduce the problem of waterborne disease, such as typhoid, from contaminating its water supply, Chicago constructed locks to reverse the flow of the Chicago River. This diverted sewage wastes from Lake Michigan and has kept lakefront waters relatively clean. Treated sewage and storm drainage now flow into a natural and artificial river system where continuous flow and mixing can better handle the incoming wastes. Seattle, Washington and surrounding towns dumped sewage into Lake Washington for many years. The nutrient-rich sewage caused a tremendous growth of slimy algae. The lake became unsafe to swim in and unpleasant for boating. Beginning in 1957, new networks of pipelines and sewage treatment plants were built to divert the wastewater away from the lake and into the offshore waters of the ocean. Lake Washington is a good example of how even a very large lake can be rehabilitated from high eutrophic conditions. But even though the treated wastewaters of Chicago, Seattle, and most other cities are piped elsewhere, they still carry high concentrations of nutrients into rivers and oceans. A third stage of sewage treatment is needed to correct this condition. In this tertiary treatment plant, solids that remain after regular secondary treatment are removed by sand filtration and microstrainers. Various means can be used to remove dissolved nutrients. Oxygen is put back in the water by bubbling air through it. The treated water, now ready for discharge from the plant, meets the standards of the Federal Water Quality Act of 1965. Sludge, a byproduct of sewage treatment plants, cannot be dumped into streams, but it can be used as a natural fertilizer. This land reclamation project demonstrates how nutrients contained in sludge can convert unused land into fertile crop-bearing farm areas. Flood control reservoirs are a way of retaining stormwaters until they can be released on a regulated basis following the storm. Deep underground tunnels, such as this one being built in Chicago, will be able to hold back millions of gallons of stormwater that would otherwise flood basements and wash untreated wastes into Lake Michigan. Much needs to be learned about how man's activities affect eutrophication. Here are sites of nuclear power plants built or proposed on Lake Michigan alone. How will the discharge of heated water, thermal pollution, from these plants affect lake aging? While all lakes are destined to age and die, natural eutrophication is a slow process, usually taking thousands of years for even the shallow, small lakes. We can reduce man's contribution to eutrophication by applied research and technology. if we will expend the effort and money. What works in one lake and its surrounding area might not work elsewhere. Each lake has its own problems. Lakes are a prized resource of man, but each lake is an entity with its own ecology. Its problems must be dealt with accordingly.
Wow, who would have thunk that nutrification would have been a bad thing? But there you go. There's a place for organic material to gather, and there's some places that it shouldn't gather. And there you go. All right, so this next film, I was going to set up something on the film scanner, but this one I've been wanting to show for a while. And it's part of this series. Cornette has always been coming up with these family life films, and they deal with relationships, and specifically building a relationship towards marriage and having a family. And so there was some early ones which were like question marks, like going steady, question mark, are you ready for marriage? Is it love? Question mark. And this one is kind of the second generation. This came out, I think, in the 60s or 70s. And this is getting rid of the questions, because the answer to those questions is almost always no. But this one is, I think there's a couple in this series. One's called Anatomy of a Teenage Romance, I believe. And this is Anatomy of a Teenage Engagement. And do you think, we'll just take bets right now, do you think that this relationship is going to survive to the end of the film? Let's see. Enjoy.
Greenwood Bridge spans over a stream, and on the railing there is carved a heart, is carved upon the love we share. Greenwood Bridge spans over
That tassel doesn't do much for me.
Well, I think you look rather sexy behind it.
You'd find something sexy about a funeral.
The proud but grinning parents.
You must have had a truce with your mother.
A rare study of interclan solidarity.
Well, it surprised me how Dad could have smiled through it all.
Hey, here you are in all your glory. Why the modesty?
That bathing suit shows too much.
Now here's one that shows too much.
You never looked more handsome.
You're being sarcastic, dear.
I like this one.
The cheapest rock on the beach.
Don't kid about it.
Well, here's the last one. 2 kids on the road to love and life.
You should have gotten a picture of us running off into that ditch.
still shelter our names together.
I wish we were married and living on a hill somewhere, or high up in some apartment building.
Why?
Oh, I don't know. So I could reach out and touch the sky.
Sounds like your head's in the clouds already.
It is.
If I had my way, I'd live on the run for a while.
Why?
I'd like to see and live in all the big cities. Places like New York, Houston, Washington, D.C. Being stuck in one place is a drag on the nerves.
You should be an airplane pilot.
And you a stewardess.
I'll buy that.
If you want my opinion, sis, you're making a mistake.
Why?
You're too young. You haven't got your life sorted out yet.
If I waited for that, I'd probably be an old maid.
It's not all that bad.
I mean, being divorced, it's the same thing. Be smart and wait. Did you have a long enough engagement to learn anything?
Just that Jack liked plenty of sex.
I mean, anything that could help me.
Don't get pregnant if you can help it.
What else?
I don't know. We'll save up a little money. It's a lie about two living cheaper than one.
Well, you make it all sound like a downhill proposition.
Marriage isn't for amateurs, that's all. Who isn't an amateur when they start out? Know the boy for a year or so before you get married. You can learn a lot about a person in a year. That was Barb's trouble. She didn't have much of an engagement. Engaged 1 month, married the next. Bad news for everybody.
Were you engaged long?
No.
Why?
Oh, we were just two hot-blooded kids who couldn't wait.
So don't be hot-blooded if you want a good marriage, huh?
Don't marry anybody you don't know. Marriage is a long, old story you don't need to rush into. Does that make sense?
Well, how long should an engagement be then?
4 or 5 months to a year. Now remember, it's not the length of an engagement that's important, it's what you accomplish.
What do you mean?
Well, the problem of weaving two lifestyles together. This means adjusting to each other in a wide variety of ways.
Like what?
Oh, finding out about your personalities, your emotional habits, what you want from life. Maybe solving some of your religious differences and physical drives.
Just about everything, huh?
Engagement is a time of intense communication.
Yeah, it is.
Somewhere I read once where marriage failures are usually engagement failures.
You make it all sound a little scary.
In what way?
Oh, I don't know. Just being engaged. Letting another person really get to know who you are. That's the scary part. I want Dave to see me at my best. Like before we were engaged. I realize someday he's going to have to see my other side, too. I mean, he's going to know about it sooner or later. Maybe I have too many doubts about myself. About having a future without Dave. About our families being so different. Even doubts about keeping up with his education. What would happen if I ever told him about all these worries? Would it change anything? We talk about ourselves, but do we ever really say anything? What exactly do we both want to hide? Dave, I want to love you so, but somehow I'm afraid.
Maybe being engaged is good for me. I mean, it's taught me to look at myself clearly. Am I really mature enough to share myself with another person? I don't know. I guess I've always been the loner who hates his loneliness. But maybe everybody has that problem. For some reason, I've always needed things to do, things to accomplish in order to feel important. Why can't I feel important just being myself? Is that why I need Vicky around? To register another accomplishment? Look, world. Me and the all-American girl. Yeah. So desirable. But I'm afraid to lay a hand on her. Another one of Dave's bittersweet accomplishments.
We can afford a place like this someday. This is a palace compared to ours.
It's not bad for a cage.
What are you doing?
Taking a shower.
Are you crazy?
No.
Dave, stop fooling me.
Who's fooling?
Hey, be gentle.
I like you when you're wild.
Don't.
Don't what?
Just don't.
Well, that was fast. What do you want me to do? Apologize?
No.
Maybe we shouldn't be engaged.
What do you mean?
I wouldn't think I had any rights to you.
Who said you have any rights?
Is this the way it's going to be after we're married?
No.
I thought we were supposed to thaw out a little before we got married. Maybe I read the wrong textbook.
I don't know what we should do.
Just keep our passion locked up. All uptight and secure.
It's not that I don't want you to love me, Dave.
Then what do you want?
I don't know. Maybe for you to respect me. Is that something I have a right to ask?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we have to stop loving each other.
Then what does it mean?
Don't make me feel cold, Dave. I love you very much.
Sure.
I want to believe there's more between us than just tumbling into bed.
There is.
I could use sex like my sister did. Only I just don't want to get trapped like that.
Okay.
It's just not worth it, Dave. You know why you dated me in the beginning. Well, it's true. I've had experience. More than I want to think about. I suppose that's something you don't care to hear about.
No.
I'm not proud of my past, but I don't want to be ashamed of my future, too.
I understand.
I hope so. Well, there it is. My confession for the night.
Vicky,
What?
you're beautiful when you cry.
I don't feel very beautiful.
Can I help you with anything, Mom?
No, but you might check with your father. He might need some help with the steaks.
But could you go easy tonight? And no ice except in the drinks?
Put these at this other place, would you?
Did you hear me, Mom?
Yes, I heard you.
A dinner like this doesn't have to be a hazing ceremony.
I can't recall when I haven't been civil to her, Dave.
Try adding a little warmth. She's gonna be my wife someday.
I'm sorry, Dave. I still can't get excited about that idea.
Are you gonna play the bitchy mother right down to the bitter end?
All right, Dave, that's enough.
I thought you might need a little fortification, sweetheart.
Thanks.
What's the skirmish about?
Dave seems to think I'm some sort of sculptured iceberg around his girl.
That's unfair, Dave. I think we've both made considerable adjustment to this engagement affair of yours.
Don't call it an affair, Dad.
What would you prefer I call it?
Just don't call it an affair.
Are the steaks ready to grill yet?
All set.
Well, that must be Vicky. How about it? Let's keep the knives on the table, huh?
We can be glad she didn't bring her parents along.
Madge, you can be a bit of a snob when you want to be.
Yes, Lyle, I use it instead of your scotch.
Well, how did the lords of the manor treat you last night?
Okay. Did you have a good time? Yes. Dave and I left early. I found his mother awful formal at the graduation.
Can't we talk about something else? They're not my kind of people either.
Then why marry one?
Because Dave isn't like his parents.
Yeah, he looks enough like the old man to fool me.
Dad, you don't know one thing about Dave.
George, don't argue at the table.
Well, I may not know him like you, but it doesn't take much to see what he is. Good day's work probably killed the kid. What's the matter with the world today? A bunch of smart kids like him afraid to do a day's work.
Dave works at a lumber yard. He works as hard as you do.
Is that the way he's going to support you, pushing lumber around?
No. He plans to go to college in a year or so.
And who's going to pay for that?
I don't know. We can both work.
Yeah, and as soon as you put him through, he'll get rid of you.
George, eat your supper.
Yeah.
You two keep out of this.
Dad, please.
Well, if you think that kid's some sort of a white knight, you need your eyes open. All he's looking for is somebody to put him through school. It happens every day.
For your information, Dad, his parents have offered to put him through school.
I'll believe that when I see him there.
Don't worry. I'll see to it that he gets through school.
Oh, I'll bet you one thing. He's going to teach you about life the hard way.
Yeah, the same way you taught me.
All right, you two, now stop it.
Yeah, can't we ever have a meal in peace?
Are you feeling tired?
No. Just moody.
About what?
Oh, about things.
What things?
About you and me.
Oh?
We don't seem to have the spark we once did.
Yeah. Maybe we don't.
I miss it.
Yeah, I miss it too.
Do you?
Why do you think I don't?
I don't know. You've had a lot on your mind lately.
Do you ever have any doubts about being engaged?
Yeah. Some.
What are they?
Do I have to talk about it just now?
Why not?
No reason, I guess.
Seems to me we're getting to be experts at not talking to each other.
Okay, so we should talk more.
What really bothers you, Vicky?
That's hard to say. Oh, I'm afraid maybe you're not interested in marrying me anymore. Are you?
I'm not sure.
I'm glad you finally told me.
Maybe we don't fit together as well as we thought we did.
Sure. Two kids who got drunk on a little moonlight.
Okay, then you tell me what it is.
If you want to know the truth, David, it's because you think you're better than me.
Vicky.
You do. You make me feel I'm not good enough for you.
Vicky, I don't mean to.
Well, you do.
Honey, I'm not different than you. I mean, well, I'm afraid of a lot of things, too.
Like what?
I'm afraid I'll get love and hate all mixed up if I touch you.
Why?
that I hate myself for wanting you, for feeling weak about it.
Dave, don't ever hate yourself for wanting me.
Sure.
I guess sometimes I get love and hate all mixed up, too.
How?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe hating myself for not being what you want me to be.
You don't have to change anything. Not for me.
Yes, I do. Dave, I want you to love me.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I want the same things you do. You know, well, not being afraid when you touch me.
You don't have to be afraid.
Yes, I do.
I don't know, Vicky. Maybe being afraid is just a part of being young.
Maybe.
Did you ever have any doubts when you were engaged to Terry?
Sure.
What kind?
Oh, whether I was making a mistake. Marriage is like being locked in a cell with someone. I didn't know if I could take the solitary confinement with Terry.
Have you?
Oh, let's say I'm making an adjustment.
You make it sound rather grim, Walt.
Living intimately with another person is a new experience. It's a kind of confinement that's hard to describe.
Would you do it over again?
I don't know. I think if we were both older, we'd be married to somebody different.
You've been married a few years, haven't you?
Yeah, about 6 or 7, maybe.
You recommend it?
What are you looking for, a testimonial?
No. Just some idea of what I can expect.
Well, this isn't something I often do. Analyze my marriage. This might sound rather personal, but to me, a marriage is a mutual investment by two people in a common set of goals. You know, children, friends, lifestyles, a whole range of things. And if these mutual goals and investments aren't there, the marriage probably won't be much good.
Exactly how confining is it?
You mean, is it claustrophobic?
Yeah.
Well, that'd depend on the people involved. With me, it's always seemed like a home base to return to. Without it, I'd probably feel pretty lost and empty.
You know, that's true.
What?
You being romantic. I've always thought you were teasing me, but now I see. It's really a part of you.
Like bone and blood.
And I thought it was just part of some teasing game.
I've used it that way, too.
Why?
Because you don't have enough dreams to live by. For some reason, you don't trust your dreams.
To be truthful, the only dream I let myself believe in is you and me. Maybe that's not enough for you, huh?
Well, it's a lovely dream, Vicky. But it isn't enough.
Why not?
Because if we're going to live together, we need to dream together. Not one dream, but many dreams.
Well, what dreams do you want me to have, then?
What do you want me to dream for both of us?
I don't know. Because you're good at it.
You've got to want things for yourself, honey. I can't do that for you.
That's funny.
What?
Being told to want something for myself.
To me, dreaming is a part of being beautiful.
I thought I was beautiful already.
Well, Only from your imagination on down.
I ought to slug you.
Okay, how about right here? Oh, that was beautiful. What are you looking so happy about?
Nothing.
Never heard of anybody being happy about nothing.
Dave,
Yeah?
do you ever, well, wonder about us?
In what way?
Oh, about whether we know each other well enough to get married.
What do you think?
I don't know.
I guess then I don't know either.
At times, I think I know you very well. At other times, you're only a beautiful stranger.
Well, you put it very well.
What?
About you and me?
Well, what do we do about the stranger then?
The beautiful stranger.
Yeah. What do we do about him?
Her.
Don't mock me, Dave.
I'm not. What are you really worried about, honey?
I don't want to get into something that won't work out. I know what Barb went through.
Barb's marriage never had a chance. You know that.
I think being married to you will solve all my problems. I shouldn't be so unrealistic, huh?
No, you shouldn't.
Oh, it scares me, I guess. I think marriage is so complicated.
I can't believe it's so tough we can't handle it.
You always seem so determined.
It's either master things or be mastered.
You know something?
What?
I couldn't have told you about being scared 3 months ago. That must mean something, huh?
Yeah. You know, I love to study your face when it's pensive.
Do you?
It's a part of that beautiful stranger I want to know someday.
You know, Dave, you do that all the time.
What?
Oh, the way you turn the smallest moments into sunshine.
That's me. Your old sunshine lover.
People are telling me that's Joan Baez, and I don't want to get in any more trouble than I need to. But yeah, boy, those people are doomed. They're doomed. A lot of great comments. So, these are films I really enjoy showing because they go way beyond the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, and then get into relationships. And this is because marriages were failing after World War II. There was a significant spike in people getting married when they really shouldn't have. And so families falling apart and just all this. And they're desperately trying to make it to where couples can find the right match, get him to date a lot of different people so they can figure out who they like. Don't go steady too quickly because that will lock in something that might lead to premarital sex or somebody settling. All that stuff is really kind of fascinating information. And most people didn't get a chance to see this. It was mostly women that would take family life classes in high school or in junior college or in... it was under home economics, actually, in a lot of colleges that this would be taught. And, I think it's somewhat valid information, even though these are some of the whiniest people ever. So, thanks for joining us today. I should say, if you're in the Triangle area, tomorrow at 7 o'clock, I'll be showing films live at the Alamo Draft House in Raleigh in the Video Vortex, and it's 16mm sci-fi school films. And so these are adaptations of Isaac Asimov and Ray Bradbury's stories that are awesome, including one that traumatized so many kids as when they saw it, that I've often had people ask me about. So join us for that. It's free. Then on Saturday night, I think 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we are going to show AV Geeks After Dark, and that's open to people who voted for the toe tapping tournament. So I'll send you information via email or Patreon members. I'll also open that up to them, and you can become a Patreon member by going to donate at Patreon, patreon.com/avgeeks. You can also go to ko-fi.com/avgeeks. That's another way you can support us. And you can also hit the super thanks button or the like button. Watching other YouTube things that we have online. That advertising is brought in a record amount of revenue this month, and some of that is going to go towards rabies research, because the rabies film brought in $1,600 worth of advertising for some weird reason. And rabies is horrible. It's really bad. Anyways, thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you tomorrow, Tuesday, and we'll watch some more 16mm films. I hope everybody has a okay Monday. I know we're all dealing with a lot, but you can do it. I have faith in you. All right, everybody, take care. Bye.